Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Appreciate you being with me today. We've got a great episode coming up today. It's the beginning of our next series, Becoming a Visionary Brand. And this series actually comes from the previous book that I wrote, the best-selling business leadership book, The Visionary Brand, the success formula behind the world's most visionary brands. And we're starting this new leadership series, and we'll probably do, I think we have 6 to 8 episodes planned over the next several weeks here. So I hope you enjoy the series. Our last one on visionary leadership was extremely well received. So we were getting a lot of questions as to when I would be doing the next series. And this is the next series, Becoming a Visionary Brand, with content taken from my best-selling book, The Visionary Brand. So Chronicle 1 is the foundation of visionary brands. And when you look at the foundation of visionary brands, you know, what separates a Nike, let's say, from every other shoe company, and Apple from every other tech company, Oakley from every other eyewear brand? And it's not just about products. It's not deeper pockets. It's something far more fundamental, something I call the visionary gap. And you'll see a lot of companies that are extremely successful with much less money than these companies I just mentioned. Some that have great cultures that people have a passion for and want to work for. So most brands manage, visionary brands move. And most brands react, and visionary brands create. And that difference, that's what we're going to dissect today. And so welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. This is Chronicle 1 of our new series, Becoming a Visionary Brand, which a lot of people have asked, what do I need to do in order to at least start becoming a visionary brand? Now, this could be for entrepreneurs, it could be for established companies, it could be those that are kind of stuck in a rut of what to do as far as becoming a visionary brand. So hopefully you find this series extremely beneficial. And if you're listening to this, I'm sure you're not here for a basic playbook. And I get where you're coming from. I don't want the same thing either. I want to know that it comes from real world experience. You've been inside a brand, actually working inside of that brand. So my background with having started my own apparel company, selling it to a VC firm, then moving on to Oakley, heading up the athletic division, then moving on to other iconic brands and executive roles with K-Swiss, TaylorMade, Adidas, Schutt, along with some international brands along the way. So really, again, you're not here for a basic playbook. You're not satisfied with incremental growth or playing it safe. You're kind of tired of that same MO that these commodity companies, brands, or services have. You want to push through that and become truly a brand, one that people aspire to want to join, one that people are inspired by in their community. You're here because something inside you knows there's a higher level of leadership inside of you, a different way to build, a transformative approach to brand creation that most people have never seen, let alone try to execute inside of your company. So over my years working with brands like Oakley, TaylorMade, Adidas Golf, and Adidas, I've witnessed firsthand what separates those iconic brands that many people talk to me about, as well as inside of Nike, different brands across the spectrum, consumer brands predominantly, but those are the ones you think of: Patagonia, North Face, Osprey, all of these different companies that people think as maybe not necessarily visionary, but either visionary like a Patagonia. They've got a purpose and intent behind their company and the culture that they've created there. I've witnessed firsthand what separates the iconic from the irrelevant. And I can tell you this from my experience. Becoming a visionary brand isn't, as I hear from many people say, oh, it's about luck. Oh, it's about timing. Or it's about having a better product. I can tell you what it is. And here's the magic behind iconic brands. It's about mindset, architecture, and the courage to lead from the future instead of the past. That's truly what it is in one sentence. It's about mindset, architecture, and the courage to lead from the future instead of the past. So in this series, we're going to really build a complete framework for transforming your brand from transactional to transformational. And today we'll start at the foundation, because without this, truly nothing else matters. It's the foundation of what you set your brand on to become visionary. And let me take you back a moment, something that really changed my perspective on visionary brands. When I was sitting in a strategy meeting early in my career, a room full of really super smart people. Spreadsheets were everywhere. Everyone was talking about market share, competitive positioning, price points. You know, all the traditional metrics that we talk about in executive meetings. And then someone asked a question that stopped the room cold. But what do we stand for? It's a question. If you haven't asked yourself that, it will make people stand still because they don't really know. And I would be surprised if they do know. There's very few companies that know what they stand for. What's your purpose? What's your purpose-driven intent for your company? Why do you exist? You see, most brands can tell you what they do. They can recite their value proposition, their target demographic, their brand Bible book, their quarterly goals. But I tell you, challenge them. Ask them what they stand for. Ask them about their reason for being beyond profit. You'll get a lot of corporate jargon and blank stares. That's what I call the visionary gap. People don't know. It's something they haven't crossed before. Traditional brands will ask, what can we sell? Visionary brands ask, what movement can we lead? Traditional brands say, how do we beat the competition? Visionary brands say, how do we make competition irrelevant? Traditional brand think in quarters. Visionary brands think in decades. That's why I say, in my book, The Visionary Brand, the success formula behind the world's most visionary brands, I go in depth into the things I'm talking about today, about what truly creates visionary brands. I profile visionary brands, strategies that they deploy that you can deploy yourself, and things that you can do to incrementally start positioning yourself to being a visionary brand. And again, it goes back to what I talked about. It's about mindset, architecture, and the courage to lead from the future instead of the past. So here's what most people get wrong about these questions. They think visionary leadership is about having some mystical ability to predict the future. It's not. It's about having the clarity to see what's missing in the present and courage to build it. When Jim Gennard founded Oakley, he didn't see a market opportunity in performance eyewear. He saw athletes being underserved by products that treated them like casual consumers. He saw a gap between what existed and what should exist. That vision, that clarity about what was missing became the foundation of everything Oakley built. The same is true for Phil Knight at Oakley or at Nike. He didn't just see running shoes. He saw the athlete in all of us and the potential to aspire to wear Nikes through inspiration that he created. He saw a sport as a cultural force that can inspire human potential. Isn't that great? He saw sport as a cultural force that could inspire human potential. That's not a product strategy, by the way. That's a movement. So here's your first framework, and this is positioned as a lesson, and I wanted it to be, where it allowed you to do some thinking on these questions and understanding where you are in regards to becoming a visionary brand. So here's your first framework, and I want you to write this down if you're capable, if you're not, record it somewhere. The visionary brand framework starts with 3 questions. One is, what is the gap between what exists and what should exist in your industry? And I get many times blank stares on this. They go, well, how do I know what should exist in our industry? That to me means that you're a commodity, not a brand. You have no vision of where you're taking your product category in order for you to lead and be disruptive. This is a question of disruption. It's not a question of incremental improvements on your product. It's about where do you want to take your industry? How do you want to establish yourself as a leader in the industry? Number two is, what do you stand for beyond your product or service? Ensure that you clearly outline what this is. What do you stand for beyond your product or service? It's a very hard question to answer. I get it. But if you can understand what you stand for beyond your product or service, you will do service to your entire company, brand, team, and everybody that wants to join, in addition to your culture and your community. Number three, if your brand disappeared tomorrow, what void would be left in the world? It's a great question. You could either be at the starting point of your journey or at the end of your journey. You take your choice. But if your brand disappeared tomorrow, what void would be left in the world as a result? If you can't answer these questions with absolute clarity, you don't have a brand problem. You have a vision problem. And that's where we have to start. Because here's the truth. And the honest truth with people that want to think they're visionary or want to aspire to be visionary. And I appreciate that. If you truly want to aspire to be visionary, that's one thing. If you think you want to be visionary, come back. Because here's the truth. Consumers don't need another product. The market is saturated. What they are starved for is a meaning, a purpose, and brands that actually give a damn about something beyond that transaction. They want to have personalized service, have a brand that understands the transaction journey doesn't end when they get the product delivered to their front door. Visionary brands understand this at their core, and it's critically important that you understand this. The sale is the start. The journey is the start of when they purchase your product. It's lifetime customer value and how you're going to bring value to that customer. They don't sell products. They enroll people in a belief system. They don't market to consumers. They build communities of believers. Think about that loyalty transaction versus just a transaction. And that shift, that's the foundation we're building today and what we're going to talk about and things that you need to be introspective on and talking about with your team and your leaders of your companies. So let's talk about what I call the liquid mindset, because this is where vision meets execution. A lot of leaders here be visionary, and they think it means being rigid about their vision, never compromising, never adapting, staying true to the original idea no matter what. That's not visionary leadership. That's stubbornness, and it kills brands. The liquid mindset is about holding your vision with absolute conviction while remaining fluid in your execution. It's about being grounded in purpose, but agile in practice. Let me give you an example, just so you can get kind of a vision of what I'm talking about here. When I was at TaylorMade, Adidas Golf, T-Meg, we faced the challenge that would have destroyed a traditional brand. The market was shifting rapidly to new technologies, changing customer behaviors, pressure on all sides from the consumer to the retailer to everybody in the purchase cycle. We could have dug our head in dug in our heels, protected what was working, playing defense. Instead, we asked, hey, what is a vision? What does our vision demand of us right now relative to where we're at in the industry? That question really changed everything. You see, our vision wasn't about making the best driver or the best iron. Our vision was about democratizing performance, making tour lever technology accessible to every golfer. That vision was fixed. But how we delivered on it, that had to be liquid. Remember what Phil Knight said. He didn't just see running shoes. He saw an athlete in all of us. He saw sport as a cultural force that can inspire human potential. That's a beautiful way of positioning a company. So when you look at the tailor-made scenario, that question changed everything when we said, what does our vision demand of us right now? It was vision-driven. It wasn't product-driven. That question changed everything for us. See, our vision wasn't about making the best driver. It was about a vision of, again, democratizing performance, giving a tour-level product to everybody in the market at the time was unheard of. And we knew we had to be liquid in delivering this to the consumer. So we disrupted ourselves before making the market disrupt us. We cannibalized our own products. We challenged our own assumptions. We stayed fluid while everyone else froze in the marketplace. And we gained majority market share in both categories as a result. That's the liquid mindset in action. Here's what it looks like practically for your brand, product, or service. 3 principles of the liquid mindset are: principle number 1, which is anchor in purpose, not process. Your why is your North Star. It doesn't change, but your how must evolve constantly. Too many brands confuse their methods with their mission. Don't fall into that trap. Principle 2 is build for adaptability, not efficiency. Traditional businesses thinking optimizes for efficiency, doing things faster, cheaper, better. Visionary brands optimize for adaptability, being able to pivot, evolve, and transform when the market demands it. Sometimes that means intentionally building slack into your system. Sometimes that means maintaining capabilities that don't have immediate ROI, but give you optionality, adaptability, the ability to pivot, the ability for you to stay on course, but pivot along the way. Principle 3 is create from the edges, not the center. Innovation doesn't happen in boardrooms. It happens at the edges, where the brands meet culture, where your product meets fringe users, where your team meets the impossible. Visionary brands spend time at the edges because that's where their future reveals itself first. The passion and the drive to execute on a vision that nobody else has thought of. When I was at Oakley, we didn't study mainstream consumers to figure out what to build next. We studied extreme athletes, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, special ops troops, people pushing human performance to even the absolute limit. Why did we do this? Because the edges show you what's possible before the center even knows what's missing. We were always on the edge. So if you want to become a visionary brand, you need to ask yourself this: where are you being rigid when you should be liquid? Where are you protecting the past instead of building the future? Where are you optimizing for efficiency when you should be building for transformation? These questions, I guarantee you as a leader, will make you uncomfortable. Good. You need to give a damn about these questions. Discomfort is the price of evolution. So, all right, so let's get practical, because vision without architecture is just inspiration. And inspiration without execution is just noise. In my new book, The Visionary Leader, in the previous work, The Visionary Brand, I lay out what I call brand architecture blueprint. This is the structural framework that allows vision to scale. And today, I'm going to talk about the foundational layer. This blueprint, this brand blueprint, has three core elements to it. First is the narrative engine. Every visionary brand has a story that's bigger than its product. You should too. This isn't marketing copy. This is a foundational narrative that explains why you exist and what change you're trying to create in the world. Nike's narrative engine isn't we make good shoes. It's if you have a body, you have the potential to be an athlete. That's significantly different. That narrative powers everything from product development to marketing to retail experience. It's the engine that drives the entire brand forward. So, what's your narrative engine? Ask yourself that. And I don't mean your tagline, I mean the story you tell yourself in the mirror. The story your team believes in, the story that would make someone quit a comfortable job to come work with you and your brand and have a passion around executing your vision. If you don't have that story crystallized, everything else you build will be fragmented. Second is the value ecosystem. Traditional brands think about value delivery, what I'm giving the customer for their money. Visionary brands think about value ecosystems, how I'm creating value that compounds across every touch point on the journey, the purchase journey. This means your product, your service, your community, your content, and your partnerships, all of it works together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. When I worked at Oakley, we didn't just sell eyewear. We created an entire ecosystem around performance, innovation, and authenticity. Our stores weren't retail spaces, they were brand experiences. Our athlete partnerships weren't endorsements, they were collaborative product development relationships. Our events weren't marketing, they were community building. Every element reinforced every other element. That's an ecosystem of a brand that you need to develop. Ask yourself, are you selling products or building an ecosystem? Are your customers making a purchase or are they joining something? Ask yourself that question. The third point is the innovation spiral. Here's where most brands will fail. They innovate once, find success, and then spend the next decade protecting that innovation instead of building on it. The classic example of that is the Sony Walkman. They had a great disruptive product that they sat on for 30 years, selling 200 million units without changing the product itself or surfing the innovation pipeline. They had no other products behind it. They made a ton of money on one product, and as soon as the wave stopped, they had nothing behind it on the innovation curve. Visionary brands understand that innovation isn't an event. It's a spiral. It's a continuum. Each innovation creates new possibilities, which lead to new questions, which lead to new innovations. It's a perpetual momentum. At TaylorMade, we didn't rest on the success of one breakthrough driver. We asked, what does the success make possible? What new questions can we now ask as a result of commercializing this driver? What was impossible yesterday that's possible today as a result of us creating this product? That mindset, that relentless forward momentum is what keeps visionary brands ahead of the market instead of chasing it. Here's your assignment for this first episode. What I want you to do is draft what I call your manifesto. I don't care if it's a product, service, whatever it may be. You're a startup entrepreneur. Write a 250-word statement of belief for your brand. And do not mention a single product feature. Focus entirely on the movement and the belief system behind what you're creating. So here's your homework for this chronicle. Manifesto number 1. Take out a piece of paper and answer these 3 questions that I'm giving you. And I'll have this in the homework. 1, what is the narrative engine that drives your brand? Write it down in one concise sentence. Not your mission statement, your reason for being. What is your narrative engine that powers your brand or drives your brand? Write it down in one sentence. It's not your mission statement. It's your reason for being in this world with other companies. Number 2, map your value ecosystem. What are all the ways you create value beyond your core product? What are the gaps? Number 2. And where could you build compounding value as a result? 3 questions. Number 3, where has your innovation stalled? Or has it started yet? Where are you protecting past success instead of building future possibility? Now, be honest with yourself in all these questions, or else it doesn't work and it is not effective. This is foundational work. And if you skip it, everything we build in the rest of the series will be built on sand. And we don't want that. So, in closing, look, I've been in the rooms where legendary brands were built. I've seen what separates the companies that dominate for decades from the ones that flame out after a few good years. And I can tell you with absolute certainty the following. The difference is never about resources. It's never about timing. It's never about having perfect product on day one. The difference is always about vision, clarity, and the courage to build something that doesn't exist yet. That's it. Becoming a visionary brand isn't a strategy, it's a commitment. It's a commitment to seeing what others miss, to building what others won't, to leading when others manage, to moving when others react. And it starts with the foundation we laid today on Series 1, Chronicle number 1 in this series. In the next Chronicle, we're going to build on this foundation, talk about something that makes most leaders uncomfortable. How to architect a brand that's designed to disrupt, including yourself. Because if you're not willing to cannibalize your own success, someone else will do it for you. Until then, do the work. Read those questions, answer honestly those questions so we can start with this as a foundation for your brand. Get clear on your narrative engine, your value ecosystem, and your innovation spiral. Because everything else we build from here depends on this foundation being solid. So, thank you for joining me on the Visionary Chronicles, this series number 1, Chronicle number 1 of building a visionary brand. If you're ready to move forward from theory to true market dominance, visit thevisionaryfiles.com to access an extended business leadership series master course featuring over 2 hours of in-depth video lectures, support material, and Q&As on how to architect a legacy brand based on the strategies from a best-selling book, The Visionary Brand. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd encourage you to also grab a copy of The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries, an Amazon business leadership #1 best-selling book. And as a thank you to loyal podcast listeners, those who have joined the leadership course, the ebook is still available for $199. So We find that everybody appreciates that. We have this in an ebook version, we have it in an audiobook version, and we also have it in a hard copy. So your support means the world, as I always say. Your purchase goes a long way in helping us spread the vision even further. The Visionary Chronicles are the futures created by those bold enough to shape it. Until next time, keep innovating, keep leading, keep shaping the future. Thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Always stay true, stay authentic, be different, be great, but enjoy the journey along the way. Until the next Visionary Chronicles, have a great day.